I'm Gloria Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. Today we have our one and only subject matter expert on robotics, Tollie Strode Jr. Welcome.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Gloria.
I know, it's so
It's
funny.
great to be here.
I tell you, I just want to thank you publicly for your support. You make Straightforward happen along with our advertisers and sponsors. This was an idea. We discussed it, and you said yes, 100% support. We're in our 6th season,
Right.
So it takes a lot of support all the way around to just make this happen. And so I just want to thank you publicly for that. We've had many adventures, but this is just one of the adventures that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a lot to pull something like this together on a week-to-week basis. And we have to acknowledge you being the host and also being the face of Straightforward with Gloria Strode. Just the things that you do to make this a value-added part of the Columbus community.
Right. Because we want to bring resources and information that can improve the quality of the lives of the citizens.
And also an honest perspective on some of the issues that we're facing in the community. In many instances, you don't get the straight of what's really going on. And I think that you've done a great job of making sure that the straight story is out there so people can make an objective decision about how they want to proceed, be it something as personal as what they do with their child, in a health,
property, whatever.
It's
those kitchen table issues.
Right.
We've had many adventures. This year, we were pleasantly surprised, out of the blue, unsolicited by you, me, or anyone that we know. You received information from Washington, D.C. that you had been nominated for one of the Black Engineers of the Year, and you would be receiving an award, and we were just stunned. Of course, you've been working in robotics for quite some time now, many projects all over the U.S., not just here at Fort Benning, and so we had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C., and you received an award in honor of
General Lyles.
General Lyles.
He's an Air Force general with a long and distinguished career. Not only is he a great military leader, he's also been instrumental in advancing the engagement of African Americans in the sciences, including robotics. And it was just a great honor and pleasure to get a chance to receive the award and also have you there at my side.
And we met great people. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, people from all over the country. And it was just a phenomenal.
Yeah, we even met someone who was working in Torrance, California.
Right, Boeing.
With Boeing.
He was a Boeing executive. Yes, and they had the West Point, some of your younger West Pointers, you had the pleasure.
Yeah, that was truly a pleasure.
It was a pleasant surprise.
Made me feel young again.
Made you feel young again, and realized you couldn't wear that uniform anymore. But it was a great experience to hear you and watch you share stories with them, and get the pictures and be able to learn more about. But we are Columbus now. As we understand it, CSU is moving toward having a robotics major, and that's the way of the world.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't understand is that this journey has been more than getting close to a couple of decades now. I joined the Future Combat Systems team in 2002. There were a lot of people that were already engaged in setting conditions for us to start talking about robotics. And it's just great that now people are starting to learn how to spell robotics. And the investments in the discipline are being made, because actually that is one of the future parts of our economy. Everything from autonomous cars, which is a robotic system that includes artificial intelligence, to the humanoid systems that are out there that will do a lot of what humans do today. Under supervision, of course.
Hopefully under supervision.
Yeah, so.
And then we had the pleasure, one of the experiments you worked on, one of our former reporters here, Paris Holmes.
Yeah.
She came out and visited with you and did an awesome report on that. And of course, I mean, that it was priceless to just have people to really come and see. And you all do have events like that.
Oh yeah, we have, and that was the first major manned-unmanned teaming event conducted by the Army that involved troops at the tip of the spear.
Right.
In the maneuver vernacular, they're the guys that are out there that are shooting at someone or getting shot at.
Right.
And it was the beginning of us trying to understand how do we employ robotics in combat formations.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and take a look at that wonderful story by Paris Holmes.
Okay.
All right.
Innovative gadgets, greatly increasing the chances of American troops coming home in times of war, are being tested on Fort Benning.
Well, we utilize these new technologies, placing them to supplement our soldiers, giving them additional situational awareness.
Meaning soldiers would be able to get more information, carry more equipment and supplies, and push out even further into enemy territory.
So, depending on the mission, you could be out there 4 or 5 days.
But they could never completely replace humans.
We need the ingenuity and the brilliance of our young men and women that understand other people. The robots can't understand human nature, so we need that man in the loop to be able to guide the technology to help defeat the enemy.
There are new ways to fight in the air. This is the HDT protector. This model has a heavy machine gun attached. Behind me is an anti-foil system that clears IEDs. And behind it, another HDT protector with construction equipment attached. Always looking for new ways to keep soldiers alive and get a leg up on the enemy, all these machines allow soldiers to do their job better. So though we may never live in a world where there's no war and these technologies deemed unnecessary, maybe military families now will have more hope that their loved ones will come home unharmed.
Straightforward is brought to you by Chalk by Quincy Introduces Excellence Redefined. Timepieces of the finest technology, luxury, and class with tons of style at chalklifestyle.com. Renal Associates, LLC, a team of physicians dedicated to excellent kidney care with 5 convenient locations to serve you. Stark Avenue, Columbus, Bradley Park Drive, Columbus, Lafayette Parkway, LaGrange, West Washington Street, Eufaula, and Spring Street in Warm Springs. Vanessa Jackson's District 3 Successful Scholars Program, supporting students in achieving academic excellence, outstanding citizenship, positive social and cultural growth, believing in success for kids. Dr. Sheikha Shaw Family Medicine, connecting your health to your future. Dr. Shaw prides herself in providing compassionate health care and establishing long-lasting relationships. Conveniently located at 2827 Warm Springs Road, Suite 3B. Call her today at 706-324-4177.
Walmart's reason for supporting Thurgood Marshall College Fund is simple. We like to win. And we have been given a lot of exposure to some incredible talent. And we also believe that it's a part of our responsibility to the community to give back. This is a great opportunity to do both. It's been a wonderful experience for us through the years. We've appreciated our partnership. We believe in return on investment, and we have definitely had a remarkable return.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing my conversation with our subject matter expert on robotics, Tollie Strode Jr. I tell you, the world of robotics, you are so very funny when it comes to that. I was on a business trip and I was sharing with some people that I was traveling with, you're not the iPhone guy, you're not the Fire Stick guy, the Ring doorbell, that's not happening at our house, none of that stuff, because you told me when people tried to give us those types of gifts, if there's a signal coming in, there's a signal going out.
Yeah,
right.
I'm adamant about that, and maybe I'm jaded, you know, with all of this new technology. And I mean, we even joke, even though I have a a more advanced phone than the flip phone, I'm still carrying my BlackBerry.
Right,
and people say BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Are they still in
I
business?
know we were in Washington, and someone was saying your BlackBerry, and you were like, "Yep," because the nature of the work that I do, I need the keys when I'm out. Wherever we are, whatever the terrain, right? And so one of the big projects you all did, robotics, was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So you had the pleasure of traveling there. And of course, I joined you for some days there, and you were there, and the Secretary of the Army was there.
Right.
So what were you all doing?
Well, that first segment we showed a story by Paris about robotics. We were executing a manned-unmanned teaming event here at Fort Benning. The next thing that we did by invitation of the commander for the Brigade Modernization Command is we went to Fort Bliss, Texas, and again, crawl, walk, run. We started out with just this initial event at Fort Benning. Now we're going to take another step and do a company level event. At Fort Benning it was a platoon, and then that's a subordinate element in a company. Now we're doing a company, and it's in the desert.
Okay.
And this next event, Hawaii, was now in a jungle environment.
So that's why, because we want to be clear with the taxpayers. It wasn't because Fort Benning just decided they wanted to let you all hang out in Hawaii.
No.
It was considered jungle terrain.
Jungle terrain, yeah.
Right.
And again, we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do in these different environments, different levels of the organization, so that, as we're developing requirements for new systems, they're being informed by, hey, here's really what you need to fight in this condition against this type of threat. And
So you're taking the robotic materials and supplies.
And we're informing requirements.
But you're doing live exercises.
Live exercises.
Right.
And that's a key thing to understand about how we do our business. You can do stuff in simulations and it'll give you a answer. Doesn't mean that it's the right or wrong answer, but it is a data point.
Right.
But when you take this equipment out and put it in the hands of soldiers, that's when you get ground truth. You learn different things that you would not learn in a pristine environment like a simulation or, like we say, death by PowerPoint. Anybody can tell you anything on a PowerPoint presentation, but when you actually get out there and have to use the equipment, you learn things that you would not learn otherwise. And that's the importance of live experimentation. So going to Hawaii, we had been in the forested areas of Fort Benning, and we learned something. We went to the desert and we learned something, also at a higher echelon in the force, the company.
Right.
Now we're going to do the company, and we're going to have an interface with a battalion, and we're going to do it in the jungle.
Right.
So now we've got 3 bites at the apple in different aspects of
And so you were at the Marine base. Was it a Marine base?
Yeah,
or
no, that was a follow-on that we just did last year in November. And that again was the Marines. They went all in and they redesigned their company to be a robotics enhanced formation, and they executed operations, again, a different environment in urban terrain at the Muscatatuck urban complex.
Okay, but in Hawaii there was was it Bellows, or it was someplace?
Yeah, Bellows was an urban construct also, but it was surrounded by jungle or near jungle, so you still had to move from where you were to get to a point where you could execute the mission in that urban construct.
All right. And so there, I know it was one thing, and we'll, definitely want to share all of that. I was so impressed with that inflatable bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was just phenomenal. And I remember you all were working very hard on the details, because you're going to need that inflatable bridge to get equipment.
Right.
And that was in that jungle terrain, so to speak.
Again, that's the practical reality of what you learn in a live situation. You got to cross that river.
Right.
You got to cross that stream. And
you need the robotics.
You need a tool to do that, so that the robotics can get across that,
right, because it's not always a truck just or and then of course you all use drones and all of that, but that is not big, is not large enough to move the things that you need.
The one thing I think that people need to understand is that the dollars that they're spending are being invested in understanding how we do this against a threat in the future, and how and it takes us looking not just at what we want to look at, but looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
And as I always say, we have a wide aperture until we have to narrow down on something and focus to understand what's going on.
Right. And so it was great that you were there, and of course the Secretary of the Army came over, and he's a West Point graduate like yourself. Yeah, and so that was great that you know you had that experience and he could really see. But what we're going to do is we really want to show what happened in Hawaii with the robotics, so we're going to go and take a look at that right now.
Great.
Okay, all right.
We got together and looking at DoD guidance, Army guidance, began the process of learning how to fight in formations with robotics to do the things that you would expect those robotics would do. Allow us to see further, allow us to shoot at those targets that may have been acquired, and then to improve the survivability and the mobility of the force and the soldiers that are fighting.
We took these new things and we gave them to soldiers, and we had them exercise with them and give us their feedback on what they think is best, how they'd improve it, how they could use it, and there clearly was a lot of excitement out there.
So typically if we were to conduct a recon with the platoon, I would take a small recon element and we would move from a small rally point that we would create, and we would move to the objective, close to it, and we would actually get eyes on the objective from a hidden spot. With the drone, we can actually stay at that position, put the drone up in the sky and fly over the objective and get similar to the same eyes on the objective with the drone without putting any soldiers in danger or possibly compromising the mission.
So I'm working with the MUT. It is the multi-purpose unmanned tactical transport vehicle. It's about the size of a normal quad. It's got a platform on top which can carry up to 600 pounds with the track. We can mount different machine guns on top. Right now we have the M2 50 cal machine gun on top. It will also take the 240 Bravo, the 249, and the minigun.
We can actually put more rounds and squad equipment, platoon equipment on the MUT itself. That way it takes the load off of us and we can try to actually get places quicker and more effectively.
Straightforward is brought to you by Warrior Outreach. Contact Command Sergeant Major Retired Sam Rhodes or Kathy Rhodes. The Hugel Foundation, enriching the community through Christian music support, community outreach, and the Georgia Through Photography Project. For more information, call B at 706-568-6431. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. East Alabama Endocrinology, educating and caring for those living with diabetes in Alabama and Georgia. 1400 Bradley Lake Boulevard, 3320 Skyway Drive, Suite 602, Opelika. Take charge of diabetes and live your best life. State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front line for veterans every day.
History is important because it shows where you're coming from and where you're going. Type 2 diabetes is something that runs in my family, which means I'm at risk. In fact, 1 in 3 American adults are at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. And knowing this, if I do nothing, that family history becomes my family's future. And my family is too important to me for that. Take the risk factor assessment today at AskScreenKnow.com.
fact is straightforward. I'm continuing this awesome conversation about robotics with our subject matter expert, Tollie Strode Jr. I tell you, you love robotics.
Yeah, I do.
You love what you do. And then you've had the pleasure to work with young soldiers and pretend that you're still a soldier.
Yeah, I pay some dues.
And then
for
when
that
you
too.
come back, it's like, oh Lord, you know.
Yeah.
I do know that you had some come down from North Carolina before to participate in exercises out at Fort Benning.
Yeah.
Of course, we mentioned earlier about CSU and some of the others throughout the state. You know, they're looking at robotics and engineering because that's the wave of the future.
That's the future, right?
Right. But you have worked with college students, and they come down and participate with you all from Georgia Tech and is it MIT or Georgia Tech?
Well, it's a cross section of academic institutions that come here
to Fort Benning.
Yeah, come to Fort Benning to leverage what we have in terms of resources, and also, and I'll give you a good example, the campaign of learning that we've been supporting with Georgia Tech started back maybe 5-6 years ago, and they will come here because Fort Benning offers some unique resources. Restricted terrain, which means a lot of the things that you have to deal with the Federal Aviation Administration, they're mitigated because we have control of our airspace. There are some other aspects in terms of frequency allocations, dealing with the FCC and you know, just things that make it convenient for them to come here.
Because Fort Benning is set up for that, and not Georgia Tech in the heart of Atlanta.
And without getting into any of the details about what Georgia Tech comes here for, people, if they're looking at TV and they're seeing a commercial about, you know, something that is roboticized, much of that stuff has been informed by the work that we do here at Fort Benning, and specifically through the Maneuver Battle Lab, which is the organization that I work for, the government side of the house. I actually work for SAIC. It's a great company, and
it's Science
and it's
Application International Corporation.
Right.
And so they're all over.
Oh yeah, it's a huge company. It's an international company, and of course, you know, the event that we went to in Washington D.C. My participation in that was sponsored by SAIC. And again, they're a company that's looking forward. They are embracing the diversity and the value that brings to any organization.
Right.
And, you know, it's just been a great partnership and a great relationship.
Right, and they're looking forward, and as you were saying, and you look at all the different types of things with the robots.
Yeah.
You got something that's called a cheetah. You got something that's called a mule. And of course, you have those little nano things that look like birds, but they have a role to play.
I don't think people have a true appreciation for what's really going on in the black boxes of industry, where a lot of this stuff is starting to mature now. And it's sort of like that movie I always told you about, the jet, you know, that thought for itself and it got hit by lightning and, you know, everything went haywire. But fundamentally, that is an actual piece of technology that uses artificial intelligence to make decisions and to do things.
And you know how I feel about that.
I know you do.
Because I'm afraid they're just going to take over and do whatever they want to do.
Well, we just have to trust that we'll continue.
And not listen to the human.
We'll just have to trust that we'll continue to have responsible people in place that aren't going to let it get out of control.
Right.
And design, you know, ways to make sure that doesn't happen. But we're on the cutting edge, you know, of some very, very great things that you could only see in a movie at one point. And it's just great for this opportunity to share with everybody that Fort Benning is at the center of a lot of that
development.
And, that development, and it's great to see that Columbus is learning how to spell robotics.
Yes, you know? And then help prepare the future workforce.
Yeah. The first robotics competition that was held here, if I'm not mistaken, or will be held here in the near future, you know, the school system has finally started to support that important work, because that's preparing our young people to embrace the opportunities that this
and
change
your
is
your
going
company too. Over the years, you've been to the Columbus Robotics Club.
Yeah.
You've participated with their events at Columbus High and some of the other places, and that's through
and
SAIC.
I have to hold back because when I get around it, I don't want to try and take it over because it's very easy for me to get excited. And
right,
get out
and of
my
course
role.
we've had the students from Brookstone here that's participating in robotics as well as the Columbus Muskogee County School District. One of the young ladies that was with that group actually went on, got a scholarship from MIT, and she's somewhere and all of that. So this is not new to us. That was one of your main projects, and we've highlighted that here on Straightforward. Well, I just wanted to congratulate you publicly, let you know, as the owner of Straightforward, we appreciate all that you're doing. We wanted to highlight what you do in your real life, which is robotics. And of course, I know you're available to speak with those that would like for you to speak. And we're going to show that clip so that our community can see what robotics is all about.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate your time.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you now.
This has been Straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.